Hey guys, AJ here, back with another one. So today we're going to get into a topic that not a lot of people talk about, but I've noticed it more and more the last, I want to say 3 years, and that's female teachers and their male students. And you guys like and subscribe. But we all know that the most of the systems in the United States and laws are biased against men, and we know that the court says system is too, because women get less time for the same crimes. But what we're starting to see more and more now is, there's always been this stereotype of the male teacher and he's doing all this stuff with the students, but it's actually happening more commonly now that you have these female teachers and their male students, and they're getting caught and they're getting slaps on the wrist. So let's just jump into this report real quick and see what's going on.
Talking about some of the recent cases in the news, like the case of Monica Sanchez, a 21-year-old teacher's aide in Kilgore, Texas. Sanchez was arrested last month after admitting to having sex with 3 different students. She told police that she'd had sex with one 18-year-old boy 5 or 6 times last winter. Sanchez also admitted to encounters with another 18-year-old in March and a 3rd student last summer who was just 15 years old at the time of the incident.
15 years old, you guys.
Now, you might be wondering about the scars you see here in Sanchez's mugshot. According to the arrest affidavit, Sanchez hit a woman in the face during an unrelated incident in a restaurant parking lot. While conducting interviews following the incident, police became aware of the allegations against the teacher's aide and began to investigate. After being confronted with the accusations, Sanchez admitted to the encounters with the 3 boys. Sanchez was immediately fired, and as a result of a state law signed by Governor Greg Abbott back in 2017, which increased penalties for educators who commit these types of assaults, she potentially faces as much as 20 years on each of 3 counts of improper relationship between educator and student. Governor Abbott's called teachers assaulting students a, quote, statewide plague in Texas. The law not only calls for heavy punishments for the teachers, it also calls for jail time for any Texas school administrator who turns a blind eye toward these incidents.
Now, you guys, do you think that despite the severity of these charges and the potential time that she could have got, do you think that she got that amount of time? Probably not.
Texas, not the only state where this keeps happening. Florida has had a pair of high-profile teacher sex misconduct cases over the past month, including Julie Kinsey Hoover, a 38-year-old math teacher at a private Christian school in Perry, Florida, arrested last week in connection with lewd text messages she allegedly exchanged with one of her male students. Hoover and the student allegedly traded sexts over a period of 2 months in March and April. At the time, the student was enrolled in multiple classes with Hoover. According to the arrest affidavit, the student's mother contacted the sheriff's department in early June after discovering the messages. The mother told authorities that Hoover was making arrangements to sneak the student into her home while her husband was at work. The teacher's been charged on 1 count of an authority figure soliciting or engaging in sex with a student and is facing up to 15 years behind bars. Then there's Pennsylvania music teacher Olivia Orts, who was arrested for her alleged sexual relationship with a female student. 26-year-old teacher was charged on May 13th with institutional sex assault, unlawful contact with a minor, criminal use of a communication facility. She remained at large for several days before authorities eventually tracked her down. Now, New Wilmington Police Chief Carmen Picarillo told us how his department learned that Orts was actually performing at a chorus concert while allegedly evading law enforcement.
So, guys, I know that you're going to be like, oh, well, that some people might be like, that teacher, she was hot, bro, and the little boys wanted it. Like, it doesn't matter. Guys, an adult being with a minor is never consensual. And believe it or not, young boys do get emotional and mental damage from being taken advantage of by an older female. So we have to look at the system fairly, guys. There's no reason why any adult of any gender should be having relations with any minors ever. I'm sure you guys can agree with that.
Didn't know where she was Friday night after the charges were filed, and we weren't certain where she was on Saturday. And it was only inadvertently that we learned that she was at a choral concert in a municipality next door to where she was living on Sunday afternoon. One of the local newspaper reporters, not as a part of an assignment, but just something she had done on her own, had gone to the choral concert and discovered her name was on the program.
Now, authorities actually learned of the relationship after Ortz's husband, a contract employee with the school district, reached out to the principal when he found evidence on an iPad. The police's month-long investigation uncovered texts and love letters between the two. The pair had also communicated through numerous social media channels, including the music app Spotify. They even came up with a code word, fried rice, in the event either thought anyone was onto them.
So good on her husband for figuring it out and then reporting her. I mean, he could have just let it go on, but obviously he's a decent human being, so props to him, you know?
According to authorities, Ortz continued to contact the student even after she learned of the investigation. Eventually, the student admitted to the relationship, telling police she'd stayed at Ortz's house multiple nights while her husband was out of town. Now, as in many of these incidents, one of the hard parts for authorities is actually keeping the student and the teacher apart after they learn of the relationship.
Remember, guys, the whole Mary Kay Letourneau thing? That was the same thing. You know, she got caught multiple times with that kid after she had gone to jail multiple times, and they were always being caught together. So, and people might say, "Oh, the male, the little boy was with the teacher, but he's a minor. He can't consent. His parents are his guardians." So this whole argument is just completely irrelevant.
Chief Piccirillo talked about how his department planned to address that concern in the Ortz case.
Charges have been filed. Olivia Ortz, the defendant, is out on bond. There's a no contact order in effect to hopefully prevent the two of them from communicating any further.
But why even let her out on bond? Because you know that if this was a male teacher, they wouldn't let him out on bond. They would have buried him under the jail.
And then we see what happens in court.
Then there's Jasper County, Missouri, home to two recent bizarre female teacher male student incidents. J.C. Bain Collins, a 22-year-old substitute teacher, was arrested a few months back for sexual contact with a student. Authorities say Collins went to the student's house when his parents weren't there and had sex with him.
Went to the parents' house when the parents weren't there. That's nuts.
The two continued to communicate for months via text and social media before the student eventually told authorities about the relationship. Collins has been charged with a Class E felony, which could result in a maximum of 4 years.
A Class E felony, guys. Imagine if this was a male teacher. Do you think that it would be a Class E felony? No.
But that's 4 years more than another Jasper County teacher is eligible for in a bizarre case after charges were dropped against her. Jasper County prosecutors abandoned the case against 26-year-old Bailey Turner earlier this year. Turner, an English teacher, was accused of having sex with one of her male students back in 2019. But the reason the county dropped the charges? Turner and the student got married.
What? So they got married, so they dropped the charges? You guys, this is crazy.
Prosecutors said the marriage made the case impossible to prove, as the student was able to invoke spousal privilege to avoid testifying. So Turner is now free from prosecution. What they will do for love. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe.
So guys, I mean, this is obviously something that's happening more and more and more. And you see that these women are basically just getting off with no consequences whatsoever. And there was one more case, and here it is. And this is the woman who got who got 60 days in jail after being convicted of being with a 13-year-old. This is real short, guys. Let's just jump into this really fast.
Resignation of a judge after a former Tomball ISD teacher was given what they believe is a light sentence. Prosecutors were asking for at least 20 years in prison for Marco Bodine. That sentence was much less. Our Rochelle Turner live downtown, where activists are expected to speak about this morning. Rochelle?
Good morning. They are very upset and frustrated after Marco Bodine was sentenced to 10 days in jail and a 10-year probation. On Tuesday, Marco Bodine pled guilty to aggravated sexual abuse of a child under 14. Court documents reveal the former Tomball ISD teacher befriended a 13-year-old student on an online video game and sexually assaulted him for 3 years. They texted, exchanged explicit photos and videos, and had sex in her classroom and car several times. Judge Greg Glass sentenced Bodine to 60 days in jail and 10 years probation, far shy of prosecutors' push for at least 20 years in prison.
There are certain types of cases that, in my opinion, really should only warrant punishment, and that is this kind of case.
Harris County Prosecutor Jana Oswald is chief of the Crimes Against Children's Division. She says the max sentence could have been life in prison.
I'm heartbroken.
And it should have been.
For the complainant and his family, I am really disappointed in the outcome as a prosecutor, as a child abuse prosecutor. And I'm disappointed as a citizen of Harris County.
Many parents are frustrated.
It's really hard to wrap our minds around why someone would do such a thing, but evil exists in the world.
So guys, we can just end this here. But you see that she got 10 days and she was in jail for, I think, the rest of the time. So she got time served. It was 60 days for this, for a 13-year-old. And imagine, I know that I said this 10 times in this video. Imagine if the genders were swapped. They would have put this guy in front of a firing squad. Seriously. So you guys let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, drop a comment. Stay safe. I'm out of here.